Talking with Turu.
Mr. Damon.
Yes, sir.
So, being a producer for all these years, how does it feel, man?
It feels great. I love my work. I really do. It's a fantastic job, and I get to meet a lot of really interesting, creative people. And I got to do a lot of crazy stuff.
When you say crazy stuff, like besides like producing the music and all that, like what else have you experienced working with these artists that you've done over the years?
Well, I think, there's different kinds of producers. And I'm a big believer like in the journey of making the record, writing the songs and making them better. And sometimes in that process, we come across crazy things. We take a big concert bass drum and we wrap, a vacuum cleaner part with paper towels and we smack it and we make a big boom and we put in reverb. And so I think there's a lot of joy in like finding new sounds and trying to do something and not tread over the same ground that everyone else treads over on a regular basis. So, and I think I know from my perspective, I jump genres a lot just to keep it interesting for everyone, for the clients and for myself.
I noticed that too, that like you work with different music, and one thing that I'm curious about, man, that I've been meaning to ask you is like how so obviously there's a beginning where you start,
right?
But in the middle of it, how did you start becoming like more like, okay, I have the sound for this, I have the ear for that? Like, was it just because you were already an artist yourself, or?
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean?
I was a musician first, but I think...
And you were a drummer, right?
Yeah, a drummer.
Okay.
And, but I think a big chunk of I guess, trying to figure out what my place was in making records was, I think anybody that does this job the first 5 years, they focus on doing it like in a way that sounds good, that sounds like the stuff they hear on the radio.
Okay.
And they work really, really hard at that.
Yeah.
And then once you feel like you've accomplished that task, then you start focusing on working with better material, better songs, better artists, and putting yourself in that situation. And then when you get, I guess, far enough along your journey, at some point you just start worrying really about how it feels, like how the final thing feels.
Gotcha. Not
whether or not I use this new whiz-bang preamp or this fancy microphone or anything else. I mean, those are all tools, and having great tools helps.
Yeah.
But really, like, I've heard some amazing songs that were recorded so poorly, but it didn't stop me from listening to them over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I felt something when I listened to that music.
So is it because of that being behind the console, you're able to hear other things that people don't, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair.
That's cool, dude. And when, like, I know that you were a drum. When did you start drumming? First of all, that's what I want to know, man.
I was like 8 years old.
Damn.
Yeah, my cousin Angel gave me a drum set, and I guess like I'm a drummer now. So and I drove my parents nuts with that, and then I just continued fine arts through high school and college, and did all that stuff. So that's how I got to cut my teeth on things.
And before you started hitting the drums, were you already into music, or like with a passion, or?
I think so. I've had conversations quite recently with a couple of other engineers about how when I was a kid, the records that I would put on and listen to over and over again on repeat to where my parents thought there was something wrong with me, those were records that, like, those have stood the test of time now.
Okay.
Fleetwood Mac's Rumors, Foreigner 4, the Eagles, Hotel California, Pink Floyd's The Wall. You listen to those records and you put on headphones and you think, like, how is this made? Like, I've never seen these sounds being performed in front of an audience or on TV. Like, they made an entire world for that record. Yeah. And I think those are the records that I listened to over and over again to the point where I wore them out,
Damn, dude. And that's what kind of paved the way for you to, like, notice the little things in there, right? That's so sick, dude.
That little echo on the last line of the second verse, it's only there at the end of the second verse, and I was like, oh, that's my favorite part, That's I nerd out on all that kind of stuff. And even when I was a kid, it was just like I'd put on headphones and just wear records and tapes out until they broke.
Yeah.
The stuff that I really, really liked. An interesting sidebar is that when I was a kid, the record that really grabbed me was Bryan Adams' Reckless when it came out. And I bought it on cassette, and I was like, why do the drums in this record sound so amazing compared to everything else?
Yeah.
And I was a drummer, so that was a big thing for me.
Right, of course.
So I listened to that tape until I wore it out, it broke. And then I bought that tape again, and I broke the second one. At which point I got smart and I bought it on LP so I could make my own cassettes of it and wear them out.
Wait. So it literally broke? Like you played it so much it broke? Oh, shit.
The tape broke twice. So then I bought it on LP. When I got my 12 CDs for 1 penny, the first CD I ordered was Bryan Adams. So I've owned that record 7 different times in my life. And the guy that produced that record and mixed it, went on to become very, very famous and still is a very famous mix engineer today because of how good that record sounded in 1984 or whenever it was that it came out. And I met him in New York this last October when I went to the AS show.
Wow, dude.
So, and he's been in similar places where I've been, but I've never actually got a chance to talk to him. And we ended up talking for like 15 or 20 minutes.
Nice.
And I just told him, I was like, I know you've done like 150 records since that record. But like, holy cow, that record sounded so great. And we completely nerded out about like how he recorded that record and how he does stuff now and the new stuff he's working on. And it was a really, really amazing experience for me.
That's cool, man. What was the life of Mack Damon before you actually started getting into production and because you were a drummer first of all, and then and then you heard the records like you just said. So where did it start? Like where was your first job before you?
I went when I was 16 years old. I went into Mel's Soundtrack Studio on South Alamo here in San Antonio.
Nice.
I was in a band with another guy. I mean, it wasn't nice. They had a PV console. I mean, it was not a good studio.
But
I'd never been in a studio before, and like setting foot in there and looking around, I was like, oh man,
this is great.
I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I guess before that, my dad took me to a thing at Alamo Music because they used to have a studio downstairs at the downtown location. And I remember when I was like 12 or something going to tour it. They had like an open house. And I'm thinking that this is interesting, but I wasn't nearly as interested as when I went back into the studio as a musician, having to perform in front of microphones.
Okay. And
then I was like, this might be for me. This might be what I want to do.
Nice.
So that was my first experience.
Damn, dude. And you said you're not originally from here, right? From San Antonio?
No. I'm from. I was born in Independence. My parents lived in Kansas City, and then I guess I moved back here when I was 7. So I consider myself a Texan. But
Nice.
But yeah, I'm not from here.
That's cool, dude. And over the years after all of that, did you start building up a clientele, or like how does that work, man? Like, because everyone knows everyone knows Mack Damon.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You give me way too much credit.
But it took time, obviously, to build that kind of repertoire, I guess you would call it. So how did the clientele? How did it build? First of all, like,
I think that. I guess really early on, I'm kind of a pie in the sky dreamer kind of person, and I think the early bands I worked with that were struggling and didn't have a lot of money, I gave them lots of studio time because I was like, I like what you're doing, but for the amount of money you're paying, like it's not going to turn out good.
Yeah.
I'd kind of pad things and stretch out studio time and try and get the most of it over time, and it's just one of those things. If you're in the music business and you're constantly helping people, then it comes back to you. Because they want to tell everyone about the guy they recorded with who was so cool and all that. And that's not initially why I did it. I just wanted the record to sound better because at the end of the day, all of our names are on it.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so, but just doing that for so many years has opened up so many opportunities where I didn't realize that the bass player in that really, really, really terrible emo band that I helped record, his dad works for a record label and he knows this other band, and I'm gonna produce their record and make 4 times the money I made on that gig. And so that's kind of how all those connections happened, was just constantly. And I think it took me a while. It took me at least 10 or 15 years to understand that that's what was happening.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I always just did it because I wanted to make a great record. And so when I bought Rhapsody Street from my old boss, that was kind of the idea. Wasn't I want to own a recording studio. It was like, I want to make records and I don't want to have anybody watching the clock. I want to do it my way. You know what I'm saying? And if I own the studio, then no one can tell me, get out, you've used up all your time. But owning the studio is a huge pain in the ass.
What inspired you to buy that?
That's really what it came down to. It came down to me being able to make records without somebody else looking over my shoulder going, hey, you're not charging them enough money for what you're doing.
Yeah, okay.
So,
so you're your own boss.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I bought Rhapsody in 2004, and we had a good run there for 4.5 years. But what ended up happening in that situation, I love that studio, but by the time I closed it, I had 9 engineers working for me.
Oh, shit.
And I had a ridiculous monthly overhead that was really expensive. And I was spending half my time in the office dealing with accountants and property tax assessments and Yellow Pages advertising.
Yeah, shit.
And that's not why I bought a studio.
Right.
And so, I talked to all my partners and I was like, look, I can't do it this way anymore. I just want to, I bought this so I could make records, and now I'm spending less than half my time making records. So I need to do something different. And then that's when I moved to Hollywood, which I built for my friend Adriel. he won a Grammy with the Chris Bettis band, and asked me to build a studio for him in 2002, and I built it for him. And then he wasn't really using the space, so when I left Rhapsody, I was like, well, I need a little place to kind of go and regroup. I want to do something big again.
Yeah.
But I need to focus on just making records for a while and not worrying about running a business.
Mm.
And that's what Hollywood was. And it lasted for over a decade. And then, you know, a series of circumstances led me to found, you know, where I am now, Stone Creek.
Stone Creek, yeah.
And I think that's probably where I'm going to stay for the rest of my life because I love that. I love this place.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. I remember before Murillo came to record, like I think like you never worked with alternative. You weren't really familiar with alternative rock bands, right? Like you were doing like other genres, or you did work with alternative rock bands?
No, I worked with several alternative rock bands that got signed, and all that stuff. It had been a while since I'd worked with a guitar-driven band.
Oh, okay.
So, and I know in working with Murillo, what I thought was fascinating when I first met Miguel and Roy was how much not guitar they were playing with their pedals. You know, they were doing all these really cool, like, expansive delays. And I hadn't worked with it. Most of the time on the records I recorded, it was like, well, here's a guitar. We're going to plug it into an amp, and we're going to record a guitar part. And maybe put some reverb on a chorus or something.
Yeah, okay.
But these guys were, like, creating these weird, crazy sounds.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, and I was just like, I was like, that's exciting to me, and I want to work on something like that. And I really liked, you know, Roy's very businesslike. You know, Miguel is easily excitable, so so I think that's what led me down that path because and this is something that's really interesting. I think that will surprise a lot of people. I tend to decide the record I want to do next before I meet the artist that's going to bring me that record.
Okay.
I'll say, like, I've really wanted to do a pop country record with a lot of harmony,
right? And
so I'll wait for a year or two until the right artist comes along, and I'm like, that's the person that's going to be able to make this record with me, kind of a situation. And, you know, I'd been working on a lot of country when I met you guys. I'd done a bunch of country records that had charted and done well. And I was having a lot of fun with that. And I was doing a lot of pop music and songwriter music. But I hadn't done something that was just like unbridled rock.
You were doing pop a lot.
Yeah.
Before,
and all that stuff. And I really decided that I wanted to do like a really like unbridled raw rock record. But I wanted to do it in a way that was kind of glossy and slick. And the minute I heard the sounds that they were making, I'm like, that's the soundscape I want. But I wanted to make a record that just, I mean, it's got to slap. So, and like, you know, you hear a song like Monos, and you're just like, dude, that song just launches out of the gate. So I think that's what drew me to working with you guys was that. I mean, it was the guitar thing and everything else.
You know, one thing that I tell my friend, dude, is like, either you have the creative mindset or you don't. And you obviously, like, being on the outside looking in, were able to see like what we had to offer, and then kind of like chiseled us and shaped us to like bring out exactly what Mack Damon needed. And people hear it on the record, man. They tell me all the time, like, who produced this? I'm like, Mack Damon. They're like, the actor? No, not good.
Mack Damon. Yeah, no, trust me, I get it a lot. I get that a lot. I think that was what was interesting was that you guys were flexible because your band was an instrumental band that
before them and me,
all of a sudden had a vocalist,
yeah,
and the songs were written as instrumental songs, so structurally they wandered around a lot. And once we got a vocal in there, I was like, well, I like this part of the song so much, I want to hear it more than once.
Yeah,
like I wanted like a properly defined hook or a chorus.
Yeah,
and you guys were great in the studio. And just saying, well, let's try it this way and let's try it that way until we got a way where we all looked around each other and went, yeah, this way rocks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's the experience with everyone. I'm not really interested in just recording a band. Like I want to help them make their best work.
Yeah.
You know, I want them to go, man, that record I made with Mac, like that was something.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully the people that listen to it will hear the love and effort and all the time we put into it.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, dude, I have like I have one childhood friend that he's like, dude, this record's sick. I'm like, dude, I'm like, yeah, man. I mean, it was Mack Damon that helped us, you know. Like I think a great record does take a great producer too. You know what I mean? Like, and then obviously everybody puts in their job and their effort and all that, and it's a teamwork, and it just comes out phenomenal.
For sure. So I think with new acts, you know, they could really benefit from, you know, a more experienced producer that's going to be like, look, I've seen everyone make the mistakes you're about to make. Don't make them. Here are the shortcuts. Let's just get to good fast.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that goes, I think, beyond making the record. It's talking to the band about how they're going to do their marketing and everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to connect the dots. If you make a great record and then you just throw it up on the internet, like, no one's going to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really interested in bands that really want to market what they're doing.
Yeah.
And have something to offer, and then figuring out a really unique way to get attention and build an audience, because that's how the record gets heard.
Yeah. I know you mentioned that Roy is good at that, and I like that he is, man. Like, if it wasn't for him, like, I don't know if our music would get out there. But you know how you say he's very business.
Yeah.
I think because of that, he brought the quality into that to be able to promote the band in a correct way, not just like, hey guys, here's a song, check it out, and like click. No one's gonna click on it. And then another band that I see that hustles really hard is Danella Drive.
Hustle.
Yeah, especially with Andrew. Like, me and Andrew are good friends, and I actually had him on a podcast episode too. But like, he would tell me, he's like, yeah, dude, like I try to push it as much as I can, and he does the marketing too and everything. And I just think it's brilliant how, like, we all just love what we do, man, and we're just doing it, dude. It's like just putting it out there, man. It's awesome.
Those guys are great musicians, and they have such incredible energy.
Oh yeah.
That was another fun record. I really had a good time on that record. Aiden. Those guys, they're all clowns. They're hilarious. So, I mean, half the time I was in the studio, I was laughing. But yeah, they have it's like they don't have a speed other than just wide open.
Right.
And that was, I think, the challenge for me with making that record was, how do I capture them just wide open without having any of the undesirable, weirdness or slop or anything else, because they're all amazing players.
Right.
But getting everyone, I think, on the same page, and talking about the song structure and everything else.
Was that a little difficult?
It wasn't difficult at all, but I think that the interesting thing about that record is we went into it not knowing who the lead singer of that record, the band, was going to be, because they were auditioning singers.
Yeah.
And then Aiden was like, well, I'm just going to do it. And me and him spent some time in the studio, doing like vocal training type stuff.
Yeah.
And man, I think he surprised all of us. But like,
he probably surprised himself more than everybody else.
I think that's the case. I really think that I mean, Aiden, if you're listening to this, I love you, but I don't think he thought he could sing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you can sing. Like, You have really, really fantastic relative pitch, like the way
and range.
There's
too.
no way you could understand your instrument as well as you understand it and not be able to sing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You just have to think about this the way you think about this.
Damn.
And you're gonna be able to do it. And he sounds great on the record.
Yeah. No, dude. One song in particular that I really loved, because I listened to Danella Drive in the past, and I'm like, okay, this sounds good. But one that stuck with me, man, was Lost in the Fog.
Yeah.
And the whole like reason behind why they wrote it like sticks with me too. But like just the whole I played it, and like this is when I was going through like a separation with my son's mom, man. And like I played, and I think it was in March of 2019, right, that it was released.
Something like that, yeah.
April or something. And dude, I heard it, and so I'm lost in. I was like, oh, dude, it's so fucking sick, man. I'm like, and you work with Mack Damon, right? I was like, yeah, okay, yeah.
I don't get any credit for that. That's those guys.
Good. Lost in the Fog. Lost in the Fog was great. During all that production and everything, being just Mack Damon, because your name starts with an M, right? Like,
yeah, of course. It's not just Mac. It's not just Damon.
Right. Yeah. It's Mack D. Damon.
I appreciate that.
Now, tell me about the adventures that you had with. I remember you told me one time you recorded with other artists from out of town. Mm-hmm. And how was that? Like they reached out to you like, hey, we know a guy named Mack Damon here in San Antonio, Texas, and like, did you have to travel out and they paid for all that? And like, how was that, dude? Tell me about that.
I think I try and impress upon other producers and engineers that I work with that like I do own a recording studio, and it's a nice recording studio, but it's just a tool like another guitar or anything else. And so I record a lot in Nashville, so I have access to like 9 top drawer players all in the room at the same time. Ooh, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
But when we're working on country music, it's just the way to go. Things get done faster. There's a quality level that's kind of built in and everything else. And then we do all the post-production and vocal stuff, back at my place. But, so, I've done that quite a lot. I've worked with bands. I work with a great, cool band from Altoona, Pennsylvania, band from Ohio. I have a client in South Carolina, in Charleston, Taylor Crawford in Long Beach.
Mm.
So I'm fortunate that I get to work with people from kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And it really,
It's
I think,
great.
I got a phone call from some guy that was like in Shreveport that heard a record I did 10 years ago, and he like tracked me down. He called the artist, and the artist turned him over to he couldn't get a hold of the artist because the artist has a management company.
Right.
But after a couple of phone calls, he got my name, and he reached out to me from there. I think we're going to be doing a record later this spring.
Nice.
And he heard a record that I did 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that record. I didn't think enough people heard it, but that guy heard it and was like, whoever did this, that's the guy I want to do. And I always think that's kind of interesting because, I mean, it's way more the artist always than it's me.
Yeah.
So that particular artist was Dave Finley. And, I did Dave's first real record, and then I did 3 more records with him, and then he went on tour with Miranda Lambert, and, he was a finalist on The Voice. He was a finalist on America's Got Talent.
Damn.
And he's just super mega talented. Voice, like great singer dude. But we just really clicked in the studio, and I think my relationship with him is interesting because I understand his voice really well.
Yeah.
And all the things that it can do. And in other recording situations where he's only met somebody and then they go into the studio a month later, he's like, can I come recut the vocals with you? Because like I feel like maybe that person didn't quite understand my voice.
Yeah.
And like they did a great job on the record, but
yeah,
I like the way vocals turn out with you.
Yeah.
And so and I think that's awesome that that people still do that, because I've worked with a lot of artists that have gone into greener pastures and released bigger records and had more success well beyond me. And I think that that's awesome because those are all, for me, those are all success stories.
Right.
So, but yeah, so I do a lot of work out of town, a lot, and most of the time these days, I think it's Nashville is more than anything else. Is where
Nashville.
I spend that time.
For some reason, I was thinking Nashville because I think you mentioned Nashville like so many times, like especially when we were in Hollywood Studios. I'm like, okay, like I think he's been in Nashville. He said it a lot of times.
Dude, when we were working on your record, I know I made a minimum of 4 trips during the span of your record to Tennessee. So
Tennessee.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great town.
Gotta go check it out one day, man.
You do.
Maybe tomorrow. So with the whole and this is something I've asked everybody that I've had on my podcast, man, because like first of all, I told Andrew, I'm like I never imagined that the world would be this way where like everyone is feeling a certain type of way because of this whole virus thing, man. Mm-hmm. And it's like there's like you feel, well, I mean, personally I feel like there's nowhere that I can really escape to, and then I'm worried about everyone else in the world, and everyone's feeling the same way. So, like, with everything going on, like how has it been, like, how have you tackled it, or, like, try to work with it, or?
I've been incredibly fortunate. I think that, I mean, the whole world shut down.
Oh, yeah.
In late March. My family and I were at Disney World the last day it was open.
Oh, that's right. You were, yeah.
And then we flew back, and I was like, well, I guess we're not going to be doing sessions for a while. And then, we got really fortunate because a national publishing company needed a bunch of demos done. And they couldn't have sessions with 9 players in the same room.
Oh,
all that had to stop.
Yeah.
So, and me and my friend Matt Zavala, the two of us are capable of producing like an entire album just by ourselves. I can do drums, bass, keyboards. He does all the guitar stuff. He sings background vocals. Maybe I'll put harmony on it. So we were able to produce a bunch of demos for people with just me and him in the room together. And so, so even though the studio was largely empty, we stayed really, really busy during that whole period. Yeah. And then I met some great new artists in 2020. A guy named Chuck Weimer, a guy named Tristan Frederick. People that I literally initially just did one song with them to see how it went. And the song went to radio and it charted and it went really well.
Oh, so they came back. Shit, it did?
Yeah.
Nice.
And so, so we've been very fortunate during this time frame. We've been trying to be smart about it.
Yeah, of course. And safe.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, if you haven't been to Stone Creek, like, it's kind of on an island all by itself.
Yeah.
I mean, we were like out in the middle of nowhere on the side of a mountain. And so that allows us to kind of control the environment a little bit.
Of course.
And it's like, if you've been here, 15 times in the last 2 weeks, then I'm not going to worry about you. It's the people that like show up for the first time. I'm like, I don't know where you've been.
Yeah, I don't know who. Yeah,
like here's the hand sanitizer when you walk in the door. So, but we've been relatively fortunate.
That's cool, man. That's awesome.
I think the interesting thing about COVID has been that people have realigned their priorities and focused on what it is that they want to do.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of political implications that I don't want to get into about that.
Right, of course.
But what it comes down to is I think a lot of people that were musicians were used to making less money, and then when they got stimulus money, it was like, well, I'm used to living on less. This is like extra.
Yeah.
And so it gave people time to or the opportunity to take some chances, buy a new instrument, or go spend some time recording and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And kind of focus on what's important. Because I think when literally it feels like the whole world's making you unhappy, you kind of hone in on what it is you really want to do,
dude.
And I met some people that are like that this year that I thought that are great,
dude. To be honest, and I haven't told you this yet. Mario knows, but this year, not this year. Obviously, we're in 2021, but because of the whole pandemic, honestly, like, and it's different for everyone. So like, I'm not speaking on everyone's behalf, but dude, this has been like the most productive, happiest year I've ever had in like the past 7 years.
Nice.
And because of the whole shutdown, because of the whole like isolation, I was able to actually like think about like who I am, what do I want to do, what do I need to be. And dude, I mean, I lost 30 pounds. I started a podcast. Like, I started making music. I did the music video, and then we're still gonna do it with Celeste, here with the music video. And one thing that I realized, man, was like not to be down about the whole situation, but be creative.
Yeah.
Like, spend the time wisely and build rather than destroy or let it just like linger on. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. So I think that's been good for a lot of people.
Yeah, dude. And I do feel for like the ones that haven't been fortunate, man, because I'm a collector. Like I'm a debt collector, and some of these people can't pay their bill because they're not working. Why? Because they closed down, they shut down everything, man. It's a fucking shame, dude. I don't know. It's like a mixed political kind of situation where everyone has different views about it, and it's just like, fuck, man.
No, it is. Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, man. But I don't know, dude. But yeah,
I'll tell you what's something that's interesting. So I was slated to direct 2 music videos in late July. One was for a country artist, and one was for a Latin artist that was crossing over to pop music.
Okay.
And I mean, we were right in the swing of COVID, and every precaution had been thought about in advance of filming. As far as hand sanitization stations,
of course,
and minimum safe distance,
and of course,
masks and everything else. And one of them, literally the night before that shoot happened, I got phone calls at 2 friends that were literally 1 degree of separation away from me. I hadn't seen them in a while, but had been diagnosed positive.
What?
And so, so the first one, unfortunately, I had to pull the plug on literally the night before,
dude,
which is kind of lame. But the second one was for Sebastian de la Cruz, the famous mariachi singer, and that was a couple of weeks later. And we were shooting that at the Carver Cultural Center.
Yeah.
And the Carver people had forehead scanners. They had sanitation stations, separate entrances and exits so people wouldn't face each other. They took like every single precaution, and we had obviously insurance for the shoot and all that kind of stuff. And the artist called me the night before, and he said, "What are we going to do?" I'm like, it's literally 100% your call. Like, we want to do it. We definitely want to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this was not a small scale thing. We had 12 string. We had a small string section there.
Right.
In the whole 9 yards, and I talked to my video team and crew, and everyone was just like, what are we going to work on if we don't do this? There's nothing to work on right now. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
And I was like, I mean,
yes,
that's a good point. And so, we went ahead, fingers crossed, all precautions taken, and we shot that music video. And I was so glad that we did it because, the final result turned out.
It turned out great.
It turned out awesome.
Perfect.
And everyone was super safe, and we did everything.
That's good, man.
So, but that was a really nerve-wracking situation.
Oh yeah, man.
Because everyone's just looking at me, going, "Tell us what to do," and I'm like, I don't want anybody to get hurt.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to put them, themselves in jeopardy. We've taken every precaution, but I mean, I'm not a wizard. I can't.
I would assume that you would feel responsible if someone did get hurt or something, right?
Yeah,
like it would fall on you.
Absolutely,
yeah,
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, so it's been an interesting year. I'm really looking forward to 2021 being better. So. but yeah. So that's
the gist of it.
Gist of the COVID situation.
You know, one thing I was thinking about, man, is I mean, I know that you tag Clifton on the Deftones memes and all that because I really like Deftones too. But one thing I talk to my buddy about a lot, dude, is I'm like, okay, well, like, you have bands like Incubus and Deftones, and I'm like, okay, well, how are they doing financially because they can't tour, and then smaller bands, I guess, like not small, but like for example, Circus Survive, they have a Patreon where like you subscribe for a certain amount, and like they're doing like private video calls and like they're doing like private sessions. And one thing that I was thinking, dude, is like, do you think, you as a producer, because you've seen it all, you've done it all, do you think that like bands like Incubus and Deftones are like set right now because they have fun, they have revenue, I guess, built up over time, selling all those records and this and that? Do you think that they're doing a little, you know, more comfortably than most people? Or?
I mean, I would imagine so. I mean, I'm friends with Bo Burchell online, the guitarist from Sayasin and Circa.
Oh,
and
he's
a producer. He has his own recording studio.
Okay.
And he's been busy throughout COVID, you know, recording stuff and obviously being smart about it as well. But I think that, I mean, with a certain amount of notoriety comes the ability to do creative things, whether it's, you know, say happy birthday to complete strangers over that Cameo app or whatever it is.
Yeah,
like that. You know, I think nobody's been lucky enough to just continue doing things the way they've been doing. They've all had to kind of adapt.
Yeah,
but I think, you know, those people, I mean, the one thing I think that everyone universally turned to during COVID was people went back to their music. People didn't, Spotify, subscriptions didn't go down. Apple Music just didn't go down. Fender sold more guitars during COVID than they sold in the last 10 years.
Are you serious? I didn't know that.
There's the sales numbers for Fender came out, and they're through the roof. Everyone bought a guitar, it seems like, during the pandemic.
That's awesome.
And so, you know, I think that when there aren't a lot of answers and people are feeling a certain amount of despair or uncertainty, then we tend to take shelter in music and the arts.
Yeah.
And so, for that reason, I think that you know, people that are employed full time, if they were, you know, creative and they were innovative, then they probably were able to weather the storm. You know, it would have been better, obviously, that none of this happened. But I think people kind of prioritizing and sort of focusing their energy is important. I had well, my son was in Boy Scouts. Well, he's still in Boy Scouts. He's about to be an Eagle. But when he was maybe 5th grade or 6th grade, his troupe came to tour my studio.
Oh, nice.
To tour Hollywood. And they came with, you know, the parents came to see it too. They thought it was really cool.
Of course.
The studio, whatever. But while the kids were out there playing instruments and like picking up guitars and stuff, I was talking to some of the parents, and I remember asking one parent, like, you know, what kind of music do you listen to? And he's like, I don't listen to music. And I was like,
what
do you, I mean, like, when you're in the car or, like, you know, just passively. And he's like, I mean, I listen to talk radio. And I'm like,
oh,
but
my
you don't,
God,
like,
dude.
He's like, no, I don't really listen to music. I haven't since college. And I was just like, wow. I can't even understand that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
So there is literally a song for every mood I have in my life.
Oh, yes, dude.
So,
My Chemical Romance. Yeah, dude.
I mean, you know.
Go on.
Helena rocks so hard.
I know, dude. Yeah, it's so sick, dude. Yeah.
But so yeah, so to me that was just, and I realized, I think there's a lot of people that are out there that are like that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think there's equally a number of people that don't necessarily think that they're cool, and maybe they just watch the iTunes charts and say, oh, I've never heard of this artist before, I'm going to check them out. You know, I've met several people that are, you know,
dude,
in their 40s and 50s, and that's how they discover music. I mean, they're not exactly, you know, listening to the artist that only has, you know, 4,000 streams on Spotify.
Yeah.
But they're taking chances. They're going out there and going, well, I've never heard of, you know, this person or that person. I'm gonna check it out. No,
never heard of Rancid. Let me check that out. What is that like?
I don't know about all that.
No, dude. So it's crazy that you say that, because like I'm not gonna lie, man. Like I kind of use Tony Hawk's Pro Skater as like a way to find out like good music.
Sure.
Dude, the soundtrack is so sick, dude. Like there's so much fucking badass bands, and I think there was one. So like growing up, I wasn't really into a lot of punk music, right? Like it wasn't until like I hit high school and my friend was like, dude, check this out. I'm like, what's this? Casualties. And I'm like, oh, dude, just fucking sick. So then he showed me Rancid, the Dead Kennedys, and I'm like, what is all this? I've never listened to it. But anyways, like with Tony Hawk, man, I feel like that was like my outlet to find new music. or back in the day, man, with DirecTV, they had the music channels. There was nothing but music.
Yeah, music.
Guess who I discovered on there when I was 14?
Who?
Team Sleep, dude.
Oh, wow.
Dude. After that, I would write down every song, and I would sit there and I would write down every song and then look it up when I got home in my mom's computer and look up who the band was, what song it was, and then put it on my little plastic little MP3 player that I had, dude.
That's awesome.
Dude, and that's how I found out about Team Sleep, and I didn't know that it was Chino from Deftones that did it.
Yeah.
Dude, and then my dad drove me to Best Buy, and I bought the album, dude, and I fucking loved it, dude. It was the greatest. It was awesome.
Music has the ability to connect, different generations. I had a similar experience. One of the engineers that worked for me, is about, what is he? He's at least 10 years younger than me. But he found the outfield on my computer in my office at the old studio. And he was like, what is this? Dude, that's
I don't know what that
awesome.
is. What is that? It
was an 80s band.
Okay.
An 80s pop band.
You know what that is, Mario?
So, and so I think that's really, really cool. I mean, a couple years ago, there was a band from the West Coast called The Midnight that put out a really cool record called Endless Summer. And when I heard that record, it literally, I closed my eyes and I could just picture 1984, which was the subtitle name of the record. And, I mean, the whole thing sounded like the Karate Kid soundtrack, And I showed it to all my friends, and they were all, like, freaking out about it. And I'm like, the funny thing is, this was the music I was listening to when I was in high school. Like, this sounds like that music.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm really glad that it's getting, a second chance.
So it kind of created a euphoria for you, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I love that record. I drove everyone nuts. I had it on repeat for like a month and a half.
Dude, speaking of putting things on repeat, so I don't know, are you a fan of Drake? Do you like Drake's music? You do?
As far as that kind of rap is concerned, I think he's really, 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 really good at it.
Okay.
So it's it's super melodic.
Yeah.
And it's chill and it's not angry or pissed off. So I mean, the production's really, really, really good. And
yeah.
He doesn't. It's not a roller coaster like when you listen to Kanye and you don't know what the hell you're gonna get. Every song's different. So yeah, no, I'm down with it.
So when it comes to that kind of music, do you ever look up the producers? Let me see who did this. Like, let me see who who worked with this. Like,
I think I haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah.
So, I have some really amazing people on my team. It's not just me, right? Like, I should make that clear in this interview. My mix engineer, Anthony, who mixed your record, right? Anthony's amazing, and he's constantly discovering new music. Zavala was my, at one point in time, he was my protege. Now he does whatever I can do, and he does a lot of it better. Those guys are constantly showing me new music, which is awesome because I don't have to spend time out there sorting through all that crap. They're just like, here are the best new records that came out this month. And then I get a chance to check that stuff out and go, yeah, I pretty much agree with you on all that. So, but, every once in a while, you come across something and you're like, how did I not know about this? Everyone else knew about this. Like Little Dicky.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll cut it right there. Yeah, good? All right. All right. Let's get another take. Little Dicky, huh? Nah, man, Little Dicky is something else. Like, the first time I heard it, like, it was that music video where, like, he had this hot chick and, like, the hot chick left him for another dude and talking about his dick was small or whatever. And, I mean, I give props to the guy that he admits that. I mean, I don't know if it's a joke. You never know. I mean, you never know unless you're the girl that's in the bedroom and like, oh, it wasn't a joke. Or maybe it was. You never know.
I think what's really interesting about him as a person is that he understands that it's not about one kind of media. I mean, yeah, he's producing really catchy music.
Yeah.
But the video content that goes with it, and then the way that it's all marketed, it's like everything he does almost instantly becomes viral. And did you watch a show on FX? Because I thought it was brilliant.
I haven't yet, but do you think because of his creative outlook on the video part rather than the music part, do you think because of that kind of like brought it to fruition, like the music itself? I know you're pretty good with that, like seeing that and all that.
I feel like there's a certain amount of understanding this big picture idea for the song, that it's not just about the song,
right?
But it's about the content that goes with it,
the visuals.
Yeah, and
right?
so making the song serve the visuals and vice versa. There's definitely something to be said about doing that, and especially, in a genre like his where it's there's a lot of noise. As far as like there's a lot of people are putting the SoundCloud stuff out and blasting
Yeah.
stuff all over the internet, separating it with really high quality like video production and
Yeah.
everything else really made him stand out. And it's like, wow, how is Snoop Dogg in this guy's video? Like, I've never even heard of this guy.
Oh, the cartoon one? Yeah, dude, that was great. I loved it. That was my next question, Mac. So obviously times are changing. Through the decades, music is always changing and all that. What do you think about artists like Lil Peep and was it Lil Peep, Mario, the one that I think he blew up? It was Lil Peep, right? Was it Lil Peep? It was. What do you think about Lil Peep and like Lil Pump this and all that? And like, have you heard their music? Like, have you checked it out? Like,
I have, and I mean, I think I don't want to be dismissive of anybody that's like expressing themselves artistically. However, I don't think 25 years from now you're gonna want to pop that record and listen to it.
Damn.
And I think, I listen. The artists I listen to, I'm obviously a lot older, but the artists I listen to, those records still excite me 30 years later. You know what I'm saying? And so I like the idea of creating things that last forever.
Yes.
And I mean, that's essentially what you do when you make a record, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
You're fixing that moment in time, and then from that
moment in time,
it will always
that's
be
right.
what that thing was that you created.
Yep.
And so I think there is a lot of music is fashion, and this is what's popular now, but it won't be popular later. I think there are people, as annoying as I get with Kanye, like his body of work, 808s and Heartbeats.
Yeah.
That's going to last. You're going to put that in 10 years from now, and you're still going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of these other, mumble rappers and a lot of the other, small flash in the pan stuff, I question whether or not that's really going to be, that music could almost be interchangeable with the face that's creating it, because I don't know that its personality is distinct enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
that's where Drake wins. That's where Kanye wins.
Right.
So
you know what's crazy is going back to Roy, like Businessman. He says the same thing. He's like, dude, we don't want to be that band where like we're hot for only 5 years and then dead.
Yeah.
Like we want to be that band that people are going to listen to like 10, 20 years later. And he has a good point. For example, one band that I think of, the first one that comes to mind, dude, is Goo Goo Dolls. Okay. And one song that comes to mind, dude, and I grew up with it, and I don't even listen to that band.
Yeah.
But it's Black Balloons.
Of course.
Or Iris.
Yeah.
Iris is going to be timeless. And
you'll be hearing that in the grocery store for the next 20 years.
or Mariah Carey, Merry Christmas, All I Want for You.
Yeah.
That's you.
True story, they wrote that song in 20 minutes.
Are you serious?
All I Want for Christmas.
Her
and her producer, Walter Fantasy, wrote that song in 20 minutes. And the record label didn't think it was a single, didn't even release it
Wow,
to radio.
dude.
So people just started spinning it, and it's become one of the most played Christmas songs of all time.
And I like how they only focus on Mariah Carey. What about Frank Sinatra? I love 1950s Christmas music, especially Frank Sinatra, man.
Frank Sinatra literally sets an entire mood for whatever it is you're about to experience.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's a nice dinner or a movie or something.
Dude, yes, dude.
It's class and the sophistication and elegance. And,
oh, yeah.
And so, I think that he was just a badass, too.
Yeah, man.
He was
the guy. And what's crazy, too, is like I see these commercials. They're like, Frank Sinatra preferred Jack Daniels and water. I'm like, and then I tried. I was like, ugh. I was like, no, I don't. No, I would prefer an old fashioned, please and thank you. Like no water and whiskey. That's fucking nasty. Like, so, seriously, dude. Like I prefer I like Bullet, man. Bullet rye or Bullet bourbon. Bullet bourbon, I'll drink it straight, but Bullet rye goes down smooth. But like when I tried it with water, I'm just like, what in the fuck is this? No.
Thank you for enjoying Bar Tips with Turo. No, but yeah, I think that's and this whole thing got sparked by you talking about an artist like Lil Peep, and so but like I said, I don't want to put down anybody.
Right. Of course, yeah.
And I'm not even just doing that to be like, culturally or politically safe. It's like if that's what you want to do, then you should totally do it. But I think
of course.
That, the really, really good music that people attach themselves, they're able to like put their own voice and their own emotion to it, and like close their eyes and be like, this song is about me and what I'm going through in my life right now.
Yeah.
So that will come back to you in 10 or 15 years. You'll hear that song and all those emotions will come back to you. And I've been fortunate enough to have a couple of records that really lasted a long time like that, to where 10 years later people were like, dude,
I remember.
And so that record was so good, and they were like, and you were the guy who did that record. That's really, really cool. I remember I wrote a song with my friend Clayton Gardner. He's a country artist, phenomenal guy, and we had a lot of success with the 3 records that him and I did. But on the last record I produced with him, we wrote this song together called "Strong Enough to Leave," and it was, the idea that we had in the writing session was this relationship that is going nowhere, but
right.
like, it's just too hard to walk away from it.
Yes,
your lives are all entangled.
Yeah,
and everything
man.
else, for whatever reason, and so we wrote the lyrics to the. I wrote half the lyrics. He wrote the other half the lyrics.
Yeah,
and we recorded that song. And he called me 6 months after the record came out, and he said, "I'm sending something to your phone," and a girl had tattooed lyrics that I had written on her rib cage.
What?
And she had come up to him after the show and said, "I love that song. That's my favorite song of yours." Like, I was in a really, really bad, like, abusive relationship, and I heard that song and it really spoke to me.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting out of that relationship, and I'm doing so much better now. And then she showed him the tattoo, and he's like, "Hold on a second. I wrote that song with a friend of mine." He was like, "I would love to just, show him the picture." And so when I saw that, I was just like, that was a really powerful thing for me, because I'm not an artist. I don't create. I help other people harness their creative energy.
Build.
Yeah. So the idea that, like, I had just scrabbled out these lyrics, in a writer session that were important to me and were about the idea, and somebody else had really taken them and made them their own experience. That was huge. Like, that's a responsibility, you know what I'm saying, at that point.
I like that you bring that up, dude, because one thing that I've been telling people lately, and especially my close friend, my childhood friend, is that music creates a euphoria for you in a certain time and place that brings you back when you hear it years later.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's one album in particular, man, where it brings me back to, like, the springtime of, like, 2008.
Yeah.
Or, like, the summertime of 2010.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that, like, music in general itself can give you a vivid picture. Close your eyes, man, and you'll just see it.
Yeah.
And one thing that I read too, dude, is that the mind doesn't remember words over time. Words, but pictures and music, like, it stays in there, man.
Yeah.
And I think it's great, dude.
No,
it's awesome.
It is awesome.
And for you to be a part of it, especially behind it, like you just say, like, you don't consider yourself like in there, but you're actually in there, Mac. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's your vision, it's your creative mindset, being on the outside looking in to be able to build something great with these people. Without that, how can they have a final product that looks amazing? You know?
No, I mean, that's kind, but it's still about them.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, then let me take the credit out of your name then.
I and I tend to gravitate. Let's talk for a split second about recreating Eden.
Of course. By all means.
I mean, those guys are all brilliant.
Dude. Oh my God, they are, dude. Like, yes.
Without like, creating a pissy match between any other people. When I met Andrew, he's the best vocalist I've worked with in my career. So, and other vocalists I've worked with who are really good that hear him go, "Oh, Jesus," like that.
Yeah.
That kid's amazing. So, those guys are all super duper mega talented, and they had such an idea for what they wanted coming in the door that I really was just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure that, like, this is what you said you wanted. Are we going in the right direction? And trying to help kind of steer the ship in whatever way. I'm excited about that record coming out later.
Yeah,
this
of
year.
course.
But I think that I'm drawn to people that I think have a unique and exceptional talent, whether they're a writer or a singer or a guitar player
or a cameraman or
yeah. And I think that and making decisions based on that, rather how much money I'm getting paid for this record, or how many points I'm getting, or whether or not my name comes before this name or that name, whatever. I think that's been my lucky charm this whole time.
It's your heart, man.
Well, yeah, maybe it's that, but it's really just looking at something and going, man, that is really great. How can I be a part of what that greatness is?
Oh, that's awesome.
How can I make it better?
Yeah, of course.
So, but I have been, really, really fortunate. I think some of the best and brightest, especially from around here, have ended up at my doorstep in one way or another through a referral.
Of course.
Hearing another record, and I always get really excited when that happens. When I'm like, how did I not know you were here? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, well, I don't care how I don't know. Now I know you're here.
Yeah.
We're gonna do something together.
Let's work together. Yeah, man. And I think one thing that I've noticed is a lot of the artists that you've worked with, y'all complement each other very well. It's like it meshes. You know what I mean?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
When you were a kid,
Oh.
did you see yourself being a producer like the way you are now?
Oh, not at all.
What did you see yourself doing?
I mean, if you ask my parents, I wanted to be a pancake maker till I was like 9 years old.
A pancake maker.
I did not know that was a legitimate profession, but I really like pancakes. And so I think that was the plan before then.
Pancakes.
I don't know that I ever wanted to be a musician. Like I played in bands.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was in a bar band when I was 17, where everyone else was 30. And like I couldn't get into bars through the front door, but I got into the back door because I was the drummer of a bar band. But I don't know that was ever like a passion for me to like actually play music.
Yeah.
So much as it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
I didn't look at it as a career. I think only through a weird twist of fate when I went to college did I start to care about, the behind the scenes and realizing that like I might be really good at this part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I look at somebody, recreating is a good example. I look at somebody like Frank, who, I mean, even when he's not in the studio, even when he's not on stage, he'll pick up a guitar and he'll just shred just to practice.
Nice.
Just to like work out his chops and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And the idea of having to like really sit there and master one particular instrument, to me, seems really, really exhausting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It is, man. It can be.
So, and I think that helps me because I think I have a lot of respect when a player comes in who's really fantastic. Like, I don't take for granted that like thousands of hours went into where you are right now.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Kind of a situation.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I had to do a music video thing last year where it was one of those. Well, I guess it was. Yeah, it was 2019 because it was a COVID thing, right?
Mm.
And it was one of those like everyone records their part at their house.
And then you all combine it.
Yeah, we combine it all together. Kind of situation. And the thing is, the song that we used, I played the piano on it for the recording.
Okay.
And I did the piano in like 2 passes all the way through. Right? Didn't think much about it. Edited out some bad notes, and that's what was going to go on the record.
Yeah.
When we had to actually sit down and all play the song together,
oh,
I had to learn what I played.
Oh shit!
I just did it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And in the process of trying to recreate my performance exactly, I got so frustrated with myself. I must have done 11 takes of my part of the video and was just disgusted with every single one of them. Mm-hmm. And when I originally played the part on the record, I swear I didn't spend more than 15 minutes on it, and I was happy with the performance. But I didn't have to learn it. I didn't have to master it. It's just whatever came off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And then actually having to go back and recreate it, I'm like, oh, this sucks.
Yep.
Like, this really sucks.
I think you see it in a different perspective when you're doing it that way rather than when you're sending your own part to another like person.
Yeah.
You know?
No, for sure, yeah. I mean, I'm going to always be my own worst critic. So.
True. That's everyone.
But, so yeah, that's interesting about, me not necessarily wanting to be a player so much as,
behind the console.
Well, working with other players that are great, So, yeah.
When it comes to these other artists, man, like I know you're a big fan of John Mayer, and one thing that surprised me is that you know Banks. Well, I mean, I'm not too surprising because you're a producer, obviously, but I discovered Banks 5 years ago, man, on SoundCloud, and I was like, who's this? Like, I checked her out, and it's like, oh, this is great. Like, how does she... one thing I want to know, how the fuck did she blow up so big, dude? Like, she kind of reminds me of... before Adele, who was it? Days Thou Come and Wandering. What, Dido? Dido. You remember Dido?
Yeah.
Remember Dido?
Yeah.
Like, what I'm wondering is, why didn't Dido...
blew up because Eminem used a sample of her song.
That was the only reason why?
I think that was the primary reason.
Okay.
Like, he really exposed her... I mean, people heard it, and they were like...
What is that? Yeah, what is that? Yeah.
I didn't realize there was a whole other version of the song.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Banks was just... I didn't really get into her first record. I didn't know her that well. I caught it towards the tail end.
Okay.
The record with... God, what was that song on it? Oh, I can't think off the top of my head right now. It's a lot of...
I can see you struggling. Maybe.
I saw her at Emos. She was incredible.
Yeah, I was like, so you went. I was like, oh, I wanted to go, dude.
I went to that show, and it was that was an incredible show.
Yeah.
So, I think that she has
dynamics. Maybe.
Well, not just that. I mean, she's a phenomenal singer, and the songs are really, really cool. But like her stage show, like the production and everything else, like people were dressed up like slinkies and a weird hose, and
she had all that on stage.
Yeah, it was crazy, and they had coordinated dance routines, and it was really, really kind of.
Whoa!
It was way more closer to like a Taylor Swift type performance.
Oh, gotcha.
The kind of show you would normally see in emos.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because I'd go see Seos in an emos. Or
or Circus Survive. I would see
like or something.
Yeah.
So I think that. I thought she was really, really, really cool.
That's cool, man.
So, and I've been looking for something because I love lights.
Yeah.
Like
I know you do, man.
I love that record. And so, I thought Banks was really, 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 really cool. So, and the thing with let's talk for a minute about.
Of course, please, by all means.
Let's talk for a minute about Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
I just get that. How much? 2 minutes? Okay.
A friend of mine showed me the record before, the most recent record.
Mm.
And it had that I Don't Want to Be You anymore song on it that I loved. Like, actually, I got into that record pretty heavily. When the new record came out, I heard Bad Guy. I was kind of like, I don't know as much. And everyone was like, oh, I can't believe you don't like it. I was like, hello. I was listening to this like a year and a half ago. So, but I think in going back and listening to that record, like from a production and like an overall standpoint, I don't know that I connect with the songs as much as I did with the first record.
Of course, yeah.
But it's a better record for sure. You
right.
know? And I think that's another interesting take on. I listen to things in two different ways. Mm. I listen to them passively as entertainment.
Okay.
But then I listen to them and go, like, what was the mind that created this? Like, I don't even know what that sound is. How did they come up with that idea? Like, And
you're not just talking lyrics. You're talking about like the sounds behind it, right? The whole everything.
So, because there are some records that just really, really stand out, and
right.
Her last one obviously really stood out. But yeah, I think that's interesting. There's people tend to bandwagon things.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of times it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't like this? Everyone likes that, and I'm like,
But why?
Not me, not so much.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's allowed to have their own sort of opinion on these sorts of things.
Of course.
So, and I don't think mine's any more informed because I'm in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Some stuff speaks to me, and sometimes stuff
it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. No, it's great. Everything's great. I love it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So, now that we're in the new year, what are the plans for Mack Damon and for Stone Creek Sounds?
I've got some cool new artists I'm working with. I actually did a record with a kid named Austin Owsley. It's really, really, really great. And it literally, we finished it like 2 weeks before the pandemic started. And it's kind of been sitting on our hard drive for the last 10 months.
It happens a lot.
Trying to figure out, what to do and how to market and all that other kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Recreating record is finally going to come out this year.
I've been waiting for that. How long has it been?
It's been a while.
Dude.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
And there's another sidebar project with that same group of musicians called Heathens that I'm excited for everyone to hear.
Nice.
It's really, really incredible. It's some of the best work ever.
Oh yeah.
And I think that one of the really cool things that's about to happen is I've been working with this country artist Rich O'Toole for 15 years.
Yeah, you talk about him a lot.
He's like my kid brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went to Nashville for his birthday last year.
Nashville.
And I mean, we've been thick as thieves for a really, really, really long time. We've done 5 or 6 records together, and we've had 21 top 10 singles. So we're actually going to re-release the first record we did in 2005. The new label that he has in Nashville is going to re-release our first record from 2005. And that's kind of exciting because I just got a chance to pull it up and listen to it again recently. I hadn't listened to it in a while, and I was just like,
and you're like, ooh, I remember that.
This is a really, 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 really great record. We broke a lot of rules with that record, so I'm excited about that somebody's going to go back and revisit that material again. And I love working with him. I think he was probably one of the first artists that I worked with where we didn't really have anything in common coming into the studio.
Okay.
We didn't even live in the same cities, and we just kind of became a part of each other's life.
That's cool,
dude. From that point on, and I've been fortunate enough that there are a lot of artists that I've worked with that come from 1,000 miles away, and it's like, making a record is kind of like dating someone.
Yeah.
You're permanently connected with that person.
Right.
From that point on.
Over time, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and over time, sure, it fades, but it's like you go right back to that crazy thing you did in the studio, or the time that guy jumped in a bush, or the time you did something else crazy.
Yeah, man.
So I'm excited about that coming, forward, and I'm excited about people being able to get their lives back to normal. And,
yes, I would love that too.
Bands being able to perform live. It's a big deal. And so,
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off with that, but I do want to say, you saying that, I told Andrew, I'm like, you know what, like playing on stage was like my remedy to like my daily life, because for a second you forget everything that you're dealing with and you're just up there, man.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you experienced it too, because you're a drummer. You played live, right? You've done all that, so you know, man.
Yeah.
No,
it's fantastic, and especially, I can imagine if you're in a band that writes their own material.
Yes.
So many amazing things happen on stage by accident that you're
Yeah.
like, that's permanently part of the song now. Like, we're always going to do it that way from now on, and it's not the same when you're rehearsing.
It's not, man. No, it's not.
You can't have that degree of energy in a
Yeah.
rehearsal. You can try. But it's just not the same as feeding off an audience. So
Of
I'm looking
course.
forward to being able to go to live shows again.
Yes.
I'm looking forward for the artists I work with to be able to perform again. And I think, Stone Creek, I think, is going to have a really good year. We've had a lot of success.
I think so too,
in,
man.
In 2020. And, you guys saw tonight, we're constantly upgrading
Working,
and improving
yeah,
things. So,
yeah. That's what it's about, man.
I'm excited about that.
So hopefully, and I keep telling this to people, hopefully Marilovo can bring some new music this year.
I'm going to kill you guys if you don't hurry about it.
I just said the same thing, dude. It's been 3 years, because Dissonance came out October 2018.
Right before I moved here.
Yeah.
We drank champagne.
That's right, we did.
The first night I had
man,
keys
I
to this
forgot,
place.
dude. Yeah, we did. So there's that, and then there's, all the new artists you're going to bring in this year, and let's just hope that it all comes together, man, and we all go back to our lives, dude. So.
Yeah. I think, if I could leave your audience with one thing.
Of course.
I see a lot of musicians that say, I'm doing everything I can, but I'm just not making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not really doing everything they can. So my recommendation to anybody that might be listening to this that's thinking about doing a new project or going on it, put 100% of yourself in it. If you know about the 10,000 hours in Hourglass, like, that's a real thing. Like,
Yeah.
you can't skip 3 steps and go, I'm ready to go in the studio and record everything else. Or, I think this song's good enough the way that it is.
Nope.
I'm constantly, I still get bombarded by that mentality from time to time, where people are like, we're going to do it this way because this is the way we've always done it. But we were expecting fantastic results this time. I try and go all in on all the stuff that I do. And I would love to see artists really dedicate themselves to making music as a craft, not as a hobby. And I hope to bump into some of those musicians in 2021.
Yes, absolutely. So that was Mack Damon. Thank you so much for taking this time.
Turo, it's always great to hang out with you.
Are you sure? Because last time you were like, no.
Give me that Twisted Tea. I'm going to smash it.
No, please don't, bro. No. Well, hey, man, but for sure, thank you so much. Especially because I know you're busy all the time, and I know we've been talking about this for like months.
I appreciate it.
So thank you, man. Appreciate it.
See you soon.
All right. I'll see you right now.